World buffs are kind of cringe to get, but they also are awesome to have. And they're awesome to have this risk of a loss. I used to think at the very end of Nax in the 2019 Classic launch that, I can't wait till TBC comes out. Right now, I spend probably 30 minutes a week having to get rend and maybe an hour getting all the other buffs. It's terrible. I can't wait to get that time back. And not having to worry about the consumes, that'd be fantastic. And not having to worry about policing my guildies with their raid preparation. I can't wait till TBC comes out. And I got my wish that TBC came out, just as we all did. But one of the things I found is that the incentive alignment between players it's not as good in some ways. It's rather convenient that people accept that world buffs and consumes in Classic are incredibly important to the success of your raid group. And deep down, I think most people know that if your raids are long-term unsuccessful, your social group will be unsuccessful long-term too. And so this is nice. There's this incentive structure that's built in Classic that I believe pushes you to get just a little sweaty. I don't really think it's very sweaty to, for example, spend a couple hours preparing for raid every week. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And then you get to have an amazing raid experience. I mean, they could just make the raids easier. They could just hand us the buffs for free. I think that even might be an okay way to make the game better in some ways. Or things like if they made it easier to level characters. The core game of Classic is fucking phenomenal. And although I wish that I could spend more time in raid and less time getting ready for raid, when TBC came along, this was the kind of stuff I would see. Melee DPS being stupid on trash, or mages. They're just getting themselves killed all the time. And then the whole group comes grinding to a halt. We got to res this guy. It takes you out of the flow state. It doesn't feel good. And you don't even need to speed run really to feel this. If you're just in combat the whole time you're in a raid, even if the DPS isn't super high and you're not really speed running, you're not doing any fancy tech, you're just hitting mobs. Maybe you're killing some trash packs that aren't even actually necessary, which most of us do that. It feels phenomenal. And I think that world buffs being a thing that you had to put so much of yourself into getting, and then you're so worried about losing them, it helps align the player base. It means when you get to raid, you take the death of your character seriously. It's like a miniature version of hardcore WoW in a way. Except that when you die, you probably only freak out for like a moment, and then it's all good. But as someone who's put a lot of groups together, something I saw once you went from classic 40-mans with world buffs to TBC was just, it was harder to align people. Now, a lot of individuals, if somebody's in your group and, for example, they join your guild and they say they're into speedrunning, but they actually care a little bit more about parsing in PvP. Now you no longer have this nice incentive structure to get them to stop wasting everyone's time on trash. You have to actually sit them down and accuse them of being a fucking idiot and tell them that they need to change. Instead of them losing their world buffs by being an idiot, and then they can't get what they want out of the game anyways. That's kind of rough as anybody organizing a group. It's rough on friend groups too. I don't think that, for example, getting all your BOEs and TBC so that way you can be pre-raid bis and learning the mechanics of tier 5 dungeons is anywhere near as hard as spending the time to get consumes or even just world buffs for Nax 40 or the same thing for AQ 40. AQ 40 and Nax 40 take a lot more literal effort to find success in than the TBC raids, even Sunwell. It's not even comparable. And yet, tier 5 raids were super, super brutal on the average raiding guild. Same thing with AQ 40, same thing with Nax 40, but tier 5 was ridiculous. I don't know if any of you guys played back then, but you probably remember how many memes there were about it just disintegrating social groups because most people, they just can't stand feeling like they're missing out. They will quit their guild. Almost anybody will quit their guild if they don't see how the guild is going to end up full clearing at some point. And a lot of people will quit if they know the guild will full clear at some point, but it's just not soon enough for them. And I don't really think there's anything wrong with that, but it is a reality, I believe. And then stuff like Sunwell, for example, was a little different than tier 5. People see tier 5 as this thing that should be easy. And then it's not. And I bet a lot of it is raid groups using their time inefficiently because there's 2 raids and you have people dying on trash, and then you just don't get to spend enough of your time actually learning how to do the fights. Whereas, for example, in Sunwell, a lot of guilds were able to survive into Wrath, even though they never, ever full cleared, ever, before the nerf. Which is really neat. Almost everyone who plays the classic version of WoW demands that they kill every boss, basically. And they also kind of demand that they are at least able to convince themselves that they have a chance at nearly any piece of loot. I think a lot of this is because people go and watch content creators on YouTube, and it's very popular to call the game easy and to say that you don't need to be sweaty and that people should be able to just get along regardless of the status of your raid group. And this is just it's not true. If you just look at the data on Warcraft logs, you can just see it's not true. These things that are hard for raid teams grind friendships into powder, and it sucks. I hope that you've never been in a guild where this has happened before, but probably if you're this deep into the video, it's happened to you. You've had a group that you're kind of bonded with and you like them, and maybe sometimes you feel like they're wasting your time in raid even, but what are you going to do? They're your boys, and there's some toxicity over, oh, the new content came out, and we're having a hard time, and, you know, I'm spending a lot of gold on consumes, and the other guys, they aren't, and they're holding us back. And some of this sucks. But the knowledge that this is a thing also, I feel like, pushes people to kind of get with the fucking program. And then in TBC, it's a little more insidious because it's not so obvious what's like really screwing your shit up. You show up to SSC or Tempest Keep, and you have some guys that don't take the trash seriously. They die, you spend a lot of time rezzing them, and every week you have, like, I don't know, 20 minutes at the end of raid to practice on, like, KT, Kelthus, or Lady Vash. And really, the problem in your raid group is that people are fucking off on trash. You know, they're not being careful enough, or there's easy bosses and they're dying to them, and then it means you can't get into the trash right away. Or somebody needs to like take a bathroom break at a stupid time, and they're like one of your tanks, or you're light on healers. But this stuff, it's all way harder to pin down. It's also annoying because what are you gonna do? Like if you had a tank who just for some reason he just has to hit the bong after every fucking boss pull, it's hard to be like, hey, you know, we waited 60 seconds on you 8 times last night, and that like cost us 2 pulls on the one boss we haven't killed yet. That might be true. It's really weird to say. It's also kind of hard to like actually notice that that's happening in real time, because in the moment it'll be like, oh yeah, guys, you know, let's take a break. A lot of times when breaks are called in raids, it's literally just for one person. Like, think about that. How often it's for one person, and then the raid leader, in some attempt to, and I'm not saying this is a bad idea, this is the best way you can handle it probably, in some attempt to recover the time, you tell everybody you're taking a short break. And this kind of accidentally masks what's going on. Whereas in Classic, when you try to have people take goofy breaks with their world buffs out, people push back. Like instantaneously. There's this feeling of disgust that you're gonna lose that fucking Songflower, or even worse, you're on Alliance like Ren buff, like me right now here. Oh man, this shit sucks. You know, I'm on fucking 3 backfires, and now I'm waiting on this, so we'll see. Maybe it'll happen again. Maybe I'll be here for like 3 hours today. And although it's annoying to have to prep for raid, and I wish that they put in different systems to make it so that way I could spend more of my time doing the things I love in Classic, it is really nice how I don't need to worry about anybody wasting my fucking time. Everyone in almost any raid group where everybody has world buffs, if you can get everybody in your raid group to get world buffs, it's painful for them. They're kind of invested in the idea of using time efficiently. That's something I think a lot of the other versions of the game are missing. And I'm super sad that this is only going to be a 13-month fresh. I think it's kind of ridiculous, honestly. Like it's definitely not poorly thought out. I bet Blizzard has some like big data bullshit, and they like see that this is the way to make the most money, or I mean, it's all about money, which is nothing wrong with that. But man, I wish it was like 24 months. I got to spend like 3 weeks getting to 60 and getting Priebus on this character. And I'm going to have to do it on some more characters too, which is harder to justify the time investment, because every day that passes, it's like, well, every week that passes, I lose a lockout on all my future characters I get to 60. That bugs me. I'd love to have another 2 years playing the game just like this, even if it didn't have any changes. But if they were going to change anything, I'd really like it if they made getting world buffs much easier. And if they really made it so that way getting consumes was much easier. There's a lot of casual players out there that are great people, but will never have the time to get world buffs and consumes. And the answer isn't to demand time from the players who take the game more seriously and to tell them to carry those people. That is not a solution. That is fucking stupid. But maybe if they were going to have a Classic Plus one day, they could change very little, give us a little bit of our free time back, maybe make leveling easier. That would be just beautiful. Oh, by the way, if you're looking for an autistically serious guild on Knightslayer and a PvP alliance, obviously, look at my flag, hit me up in Discord, JakeFromTree. I mostly need priests, warriors, and paladins, but maybe other things will work out too, although probably not. We have 2 p.m. Eastern Saturday raids, and very soon we're going to have 9 p.m. either Thursday or Wednesday. I haven't decided on the day yet. Thanks for watching.